Make sure you guys get your 5 stocks from Moo. Link down below. Deposit at least $100, and you could get up to 5 stocks, each of which could be valued up to $3,500. It's free money, guys. Get your money. Again, link down below. And now let's break down the market, some stocks, earnings reports, some charts, my thoughts on the markets, and we have to break down the Fed, Jerome Powell, interest rates. We have a lot to talk about today, guys, so sit back, relax, take a sip of your coffee. You're probably going to need it for this video, and let's get right into the video, starting off with the markets, which we had a pretty nice green day today. We had the S&P close up 1.9%, the Dow went up 1.8%, we had the Russell up 2.5%, and the Nasdaq up 1.7%. The VIX went down 8%, and we had gold down 0.8%, while silver went down about 0.7%, which is funny because usually when the metals go down, silver goes down way more than what gold goes down, but today it was the opposite. Gold went down more than silver, and again, we had volatility come down a good chunk, about 8%. The VIX is holding right above 30 points right now, and what we're noticing, and I've said this many times, countless of times over the past couple of videos, SPY rallied up to 438, which is a huge point of resistance. 438, 440, that's a big sticking point right by the 180 moving average on the 4-hour chart, and you guys can see over the past couple of days, 438, 440, we've been struggling at that point, and you guys can see in real time, we hit 439 about 10 minutes ago prior to the market closing. We hit 439, and then we saw a big rejection and a huge, I don't want to say a huge sell-off, but a decent sell-off heading into close. We lost about 0.5% on SPY from that peak right before market close into the last 10 minutes, and now in the aftermarket we are down a little bit more as well. So that goes to show 438, 440 is a very big resistance for SPY that we got to get out of, and that's why I have my alert set at 440 and 445. And literally everything I just said applies to Triple Q as well. Triple Q is struggling at this downtrend resistance on this hourly chart. You guys can see we barely broke out of the downtrend, and we barely broke out of the resistance from a couple of days ago, being around 348, 350. In fact, we closed under 348, and now after market hours, we are selling off a little bit. We're down about a quarter here in the after-hour session, which just started about 7 minutes ago. The market's closed about 7 minutes ago, guys. So at this point, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm not going to lie. We've seen a couple of green days in a row. We're approaching a sell zone, in my opinion, here on Triple Q and SPY. I wouldn't be surprised if this was a bull trap. Seriously, I wouldn't be surprised if this was a bull trap. And what could be moving these markets up maybe more in the short term is the anticipation of the Fed meeting. And today we had Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell say that he would support a 25 basis point interest rate hike at the U.S. banks, central banks, March 15th to 16th policy meeting, and would, quote, be prepared to move more aggressively, end quote, if inflation does not abate as fast as expected. So at this point, I don't think we're going to get a surprise 50 basis point rate hike thanks to Russia and Ukraine. If that never happened, let's say Russia never invaded Ukraine, it was never a thing, maybe we would get a 50 basis point rate hike, but at this point, it's most likely going to be a 25 basis point hike in this meeting. Powell also added that it may well be that over time, the central bank's policy rate, currently set at near zero, would have to rise even to restrictive levels of 2.5% or more in order to get inflation back under control, which I don't know. Is that... I don't even think that's going to get inflation under control, to be honest, guys. Now that the government number is 7.5%, it's probably even more than that, 10% plus. How is a Fed funds rate of 2.5% going to slow that down? I don't really think it is. What might happen over the next year or 2 years, hopefully the supply chain issue solves itself with time. Maybe inflation comes down to 4 or 5%, then maybe 2.5%, 3% rates could fight that inflation, but the way it stands now, 0% Fed funds rate, inflation probably over 10%. I mean, it's not gonna do anything. 0% is not gonna do anything. 1%, 2.5%, 3%. We're gonna need to see inflation come down a bit, and I think the Fed has to move more aggressively. But that's a whole different story for a whole nother video. I don't think they're gonna move that aggressively again with Ukraine and Russia. Everything going on right now, that's putting pressure on the Fed. And I believe we got the euro inflation this morning, which might have been hotter than expected, if I remember correctly. And he also said the near-term effects on the U.S. economy of the invasion of Ukraine, the ongoing war, the sanctions, and the events to come remain highly uncertain. That's what he just said today, guys. I'm not making this up. And that goes to show that, again, 50 basis point rate hike, I highly doubt that's going to happen. And making appropriate monetary policy, he said this as well, in this environment requires a recognition that the economy evolves in unexpected ways. We will need to be nimble in responding to incoming data and the evolving outlook. In other words, at least, the way I'm interpreting this, in other words, he's saying we're not going to be as aggressive, at least right now, because the economy, it's ongoing, it's evolving, there's ongoing changes, and there's a lot of uncertainty. That's what I'm seeing from that. So that's kind of what happened with the Fed, Jerome Powell. And again, that Fed meeting is coming up in 2 weeks. So it's going to be a very interesting event, guys. We're going to be watching that very heavily and covering it here on the YouTube channel. So what do you think? Do you think a 50 basis point rate hike is coming? Again, I highly doubt that, but I'd love to know your thoughts down below in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Hit that like button and subscribe. And if you guys want all my moves in the markets, buy, sells, I might as well throw a shameless plug here. Check out my Patreon. That's down below. This is the best time to sign up early in the month. If you guys like it, you can keep your membership. If not, you can cancel it. Boom. It's that easy. Check it out. Link down below. And now let's talk about some stocks. I think we had a couple that reported today. Let's see if they're out yet, the numbers. Let's see if they're out. Snowflake reported, and this stock is cratering. Oh my goodness. Snowflake, SNOW, they closed at $265 a share today. And now the stock is down to $190. Oh my goodness, guys. This thing is down 30% after market hours, after being down already 30% from the past couple of months. So what is it down now? Like 60%? I mean, this is horrible. 55% over the past couple of months. So let's see what they ended up reporting. I mean, it had to have been awful. Looks like they lost 43 cents a share, $132 million loss in the quarter with revenue of $383.8 million. And I'm not seeing anything on guidance because, quite frankly, the guidance probably isn't out yet. It's not. It's too early, rather. It's not like it's 6, 7 o'clock on the East Coast where all the numbers are out. So we're going to see, what happens over the next couple of minutes here, next half hour when the earnings call starts. Maybe we get some more insight. But wow, Snowflake is getting massacred right now. Let's see if Palantir is getting hit. Maybe, or maybe not. Maybe Palantir is going up on that news. I don't know. Let's see. Palantir is down to $12, down about 6 cents after hours. Pretty much nothing. And you guys know Palantir and Snowflake, they're competitors in a way. They are at the end of the day. So Snowflake completely is getting destroyed. And I'm assuming these numbers are, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to tell you this. I'm assuming these numbers are not what were expected. Investors are underwhelmed. They're not liking it. They're selling out. That's simple. Snowflake is getting destroyed, and let's see. It's a falling knife, clearly. We're under the moving averages now, and like I showed you guys, this stock is down 55 to 60% from all-time highs. And let's see here on the 3-year chart. Are we approaching levels now? Yeah, we're approaching the lows, excuse me, guys, since this stock was publicly traded or it IPO'd. If you guys remember, it IPO'd not too long ago, I think. Yeah, end of 2020 it IPO'd. It went crazy to 430 after that. Then it tanked all the way to 180 before running all the way to 400 again. Now we're back down to 180. So tomorrow and the rest of this week and next week, I want to see if Snowflake takes out the 184 lows from a couple of months ago, about, almost a year ago at this point. And if it does that, this might be bleeding even more. So I'm not liking that. I'm not liking the price action whatsoever here on Snowflake. It is not looking good. Let's see ChargePoint. They also reported earnings. Let's see what they're doing. Okay, this stock looks like it's up. It's up about $1.50, a little bit less than $1.50 here after market hours. You guys can see it closed at $14 a share. And oh my goodness, it shot up almost to $16 a share. So it's up. It shot up initially about 12%. Now it's up about 9%, almost 10%, up to about $15.30. So nice move for ChargePoint. They did EPS of negative 23 cents versus negative 15 cents. So they missed EPS, 80.67 million in revenue versus 76.6 million. So they not a double beat. They beat revenue, but they missed sales, and they see full year 23 sales of $450 to $500 million versus, that's a big beat on estimates, guys, versus the $378 million estimate. So full year 23 sales estimates are great guidance there, and they see sales for the next quarter not so great. I mean, Q1 sales 72 to 77 million versus 81.7 million estimate, but the market clearly seems to be shrugging that off. The market doesn't care because the full year 23 sales, I mean, those are very strong, like I just showed you guys, against that estimate. So ChargePoint at this point in time is now breaking out of the moving averages. We are noticing a pop above, slowly but surely, the high point from about 3 weeks ago in the middle of February. We hit the mid 15s. So if we clearly break above, let's say 16 a share, where I'm going to put my alert right now, ChargePoint might end up ripping like no other. It might start moving up towards $20 a share again, and it looks like it's holding this. It looks like it's holding the pattern. You guys can see on the yearly chart, we're in a downwards channel. We have been for quite some time. Now that it's holding the bottom here, $11-12. Now we're breaking out. This makes sense, and by the looks of it, if history repeats itself, which, mind you, it doesn't necessarily have to, but if it does, ChargePoint, based on this pattern, could end up having some legs, like I said, towards 18, 20, maybe even higher than that per share. So nice move here on ChargePoint. We also had a big move today in the chip space, the chip sector, the semiconductors. We had Intel do very well. Intel went up 4.8%, or rather 4.38%. And last night in Biden's State of the Union speech, the president pushed Congress to send bipartisan legislation to his desk that would include more than $50 billion in subsidies to chip makers, but billions more to other industries to build out U.S. manufacturing capacity. The Senate passed its version of the legislation in June, while the House passed its version in early February by a narrow margin. Negotiators are now attempting to reconcile the two versions of the legislation. So $50 billion in subsidies, guys. Who knows how long this will be in the pipeline, but this ended up shooting up. Intel up 4.4% on the day. We had, what else? Nvidia did pretty well today. Nvidia went up about 3%. You guys can see Nvidia's in a wedge. It's struggling right around these moving averages in the mid 200s on the 4-hour chart. And if Nvidia does break, let's say 250, 260, that could be a big mover. So that's kind of what I'm watching, technically speaking, on Nvidia, which, full disclosure, I do not own Nvidia, but I do own Intel, and I did sell covered calls on it today. You guys in my Patreon know that. I sold just to, take advantage of the big green day. The premiums were nice. I sold, I think it was the maybe the $50 calls that expire this Friday. I got about 20 cents per contract, something like that. So I'm, pocketing some premium on Intel. And honestly, it's a little bit more overbought now than oversold. I wouldn't really expect this huge rally to continue in the short term. It might get rejected. We might see some downside before running up again. That's just my feeling right now. That's what I'm thinking. So Intel, I sold covered calls on it. And don't get me wrong. I mean, we could see a huge breakout above $50, but we're not above that 180 moving average yet. We're still in a downtrend, which is why, again, I'm thinking this rally might not last in the short term. We might end up selling off a bit here before moving back up again. So Intel, very big move. Nvidia, we had Micron absolutely freaking ripped today, guys. Look at MU. This thing went up over 8%. Now it's trading above both moving averages. Unlike Intel, and Nvidia, and I'm noticing a bit of a funky inverse head and shoulders on this. I mean, not really actually now that I'm thinking about it, because the left shoulder is all the way at $92, the right shoulder's at $84, so it's kind of a lopsided inverse head and shoulders, if you guys can see that, and it's an ascending triangle at the same time. And again, now that we're pretty much maintaining the mid 80s as support, we broke out of the moving averages. Now we're in the mid 90s. This is probably going to go back to the high 90s, test $98, which was resistance in the beginning of 2022. And if 98 breaks, we could be back over $100. And I think this stock, did it ever go over 100? I think it was over 100 at some point, or maybe not actually. Actually it was not. It was never over $100. So if we clear above $98, this is going to be an uncharted territory, guys. Brand new all-time highs, and we could get momentum. 105, 110. That's where this could be going. So Micron looks good. The chips, the chip stocks in general, to me at least, look pretty solid. And again, full disclosure, the only one that I own right now is Intel, and that's because, in my opinion, Intel is the best value, the best bang for your buck. They pay a dividend, and that's just my opinion. I'm not saying Nvidia sucks. I'm not saying AMD sucks, Micron. I just want to be in Intel right now, and don't get me wrong, if Nvidia cut in half, I'd buy Nvidia, but at this point, for me, the best bang for the buck is Intel, and who knows, if Nvidia gets to the right price one day, if AMD gets to the right price, I'll be buying those. And mind you, I've already owned AMD in the past. I sold out of it, and I've been waiting for my re-entry. I've been very, very patient, and that's the key with the markets, guys. You got to be patient, and you got to just stick to the plan. And if Nvidia, or rather AMD, gets back under, let's say, $190 a share, that's where I'm going to be buying back my position. And until then, I'm going to be on the sidelines. So that's Micron, AMD, Nvidia. We broke a bunch of those down. Let's take a look at GameStop, which GameStop looks like an inverse head and shoulders in the early stages. You guys can see the left shoulder here, the head, and potentially the right shoulder here, as we're now breaking out of both moving averages on the 4-hour chart, but we're not quite yet above the 132 resistance point, which has been a struggle point all of February, now into the early days of March 2022. So I have my alert set at 132. If we do take that point out and do something like this over time, as indicated by this arrow that I just drew, that would be the right shoulder completing, or at least starting to make a move. Now, am I saying GameStop's going to go all the way back to 250 where the right shoulder would complete, technically speaking, in a perfect world? No, I'm not saying that's going to happen, guys. In fact, I don't even know if GameStop's ever going to be over $200 again. But what I do know in the short term is, again, if 123 or rather 132 breaks, we might be going mid-hundreds, 155, 160, very possible on a momentum move. GameStop, that could easily happen. So set your alerts at 132 for GameStop, and we have Smith & Wesson, SWBI, also making a pretty big move. Today it went up over 3%. It's now trading out of these moving averages. We closed above both of them here on the 4-hour chart, which we haven't done so since the last earnings report, which at this point was 4 months ago in the early days of December. So nice move for Smith & Wesson. Now I just want to see it break out of the highs from about 3 weeks ago, mid-February. We hit about 18.20, then we failed. We went all the way down to about $15. So if we clear out of, let's say, $18.25, there could be a huge move coming in Smith & Wesson, to the point where I wouldn't be surprised if this got back over $20 a share. Honestly, I think 20, 21 in the next couple of months, weeks. I think that's possible, and that's the next gap to fill. Again, if we break 18.50 up to about $21 a share. So that's pretty much it, guys. We talked about a bunch of stocks, tech stocks, some chip stocks. We broke down the Fed, Jerome Powell, kind of what I think is going down in these markets. So what do you think? Drop me a comment. Make sure to smash that like button and subscribe if you guys did find value in this video. And make sure to join my Patreon if you want all my buy, sells, call outs, all that good stuff. That's linked down below. And you could also get your 5 stocks from Moomoo. It's free money, guys. Use my link, deposit at least $100, and you could get up to 5 stocks, each of which could be valued up to $3,500. That's linked down below. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. As always, peace out.